Hello again. So it's VR headset time again. So I did a previous video about this subject. It was me kind of having my first sort of tries, I guess, with painting with a VR headset. The previous video was with a application on the headset called OpenBrush. So it's very much like painting in the air, which is really cool. If you haven't seen that video, check out on my channel. I'll try and link it up here as well, so you might be able to click on that video and take a look. So I've done digital artwork creation before, but it's normally on a computer with a mouse, keyboard, or on an iPad with a screen and a pencil or a stylus. So my background is in making things by hand and crafting stuff. So the headset means that I can kind of almost get back to those roots a little bit. So use digital, but use my hands. If you're not familiar with a VR headset, this is one of the types you can get. This is a MetaQuest 3. So this headset is VR, so virtual reality. So you put the headset on and you're put into a digital world, basically, to experience whatever program you load up on the headset. This MetaQuest 3, which is the slightly most up-to-date one at the time of this video, it is a mixed reality headset. So not only can you do things in virtual reality in other digital worlds, but you can also use the headset so that you're in the space that you're working in, or you could still see the space that you're working in. So if you've seen anything that's along the lines of augmented reality, then that is similar to what this headset will do. So it has cameras on the front, which means that it can see what you're seeing, but show it back to you in a sense. So when you're painting or sculpting or even playing a game, you feel like you're doing it in the space, in the room, in the building, in the location that you're standing in. So I've used OpenBrush in my last video. So the way that Gravity Sketch is different is that it's more like a 3D modelling piece of software. So something like Blender. My hope is that with Gravity Sketch, I will be able to make 3D models and maybe upload them and create something in augmented reality. But that's a bit further down the line. At the moment, I'm just going to try out the tutorial that's on Gravity Sketch. It looks like they've got quite a good tutorial on there, so I'm going to try that out and then maybe just have a play without the tutorial guiding me and see where it takes me. I'm not a digital 3D designer at all. Like I say, my background is in handcrafted things. So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how I come at it, not coming from a kind of digital design background. Without any further ado, I guess, I'm going to pop the headset on and have a go at this tutorial and get cracking. The tutorial was really nice and simple to start with. You can see here it begins by showing you this video of how the tools work, or how the hand controllers work, and then you move on to how to like navigate around the space, and you go through these little hoops, and they kind of make everything into a bit of a game, which is nice. I suppose it stops you getting bored just learning about buttons and stuff and gestures. This bit here is where they ask you to find the hidden banana, and apparently there's a banana hidden in each of the rooms. I only found this one. I didn't look for the others, in fact. But yeah, it was quite fun how they tried to make things into a little game. So this bit was sort of constructing and putting things together, scaling objects, and it also showing you how to duplicate an object. So you can see the chair there, and also the tyres. You've got one of them, but it shows you how to duplicate them, which comes in very handy later on when I eventually am going to try and do some bigger and better things, hopefully. Then it moved on to talk about how you can add colour. So of course I had to give my go-kart some gold wheels, so you can pick colours from the environment or from things that you've already drawn. And then this is the onboarding room 2, and it kind of moved on to some of the slightly more advanced tools. So this one here is where you can make the brush or the tool that you're using snap to something that you've already drawn, or a model that's already in the area. Quite like this one. I might use this one later. And then next it got a little bit more advanced. So there was a model of a shoe already there, and it had some lines on it, and you had to match up the design on the shoe to the lines that were there. So it's getting a bit more into actually editing stuff that you'd drawn then. So that was getting a little bit more technical. But again, it took you through it really slowly, and it had the little video on every little section that you did of these tutorials. It had a video that showed you exactly what to do, and you could rewind the video and pause it and replay it, and yeah, it was really good. This activity was to create like a wireframe chair, but using the mirror tool. So you can see there as I'm drawing, it's drawing with me, like in the mirror. So you've got this really symmetrical chair. And then you could edit and tweak parts of it as well, and join things together, and they sort of snap together in the mirror, which is pretty cool. And then the final activity in this room was sort of using the mirror tool to build these wireframe objects, but then turning it off of the mirror tool to then edit them so that they weren't completely symmetrical. So it's good that they had like a step-by-step guide in each room, and then at the end you had more of a kind of complex activity that brought all the things together that you've just learned. So similar to what I did with OpenBrush, you can use Gravity Sketch in pass-through mode or in mixed reality, where you can see the environment around you. But I think most of the things in this video that I've shown, I'm in virtual reality, so you won't see the space around me whilst I'm working, but you can work in that way if you want to. The next tutorial was about layers. So this little space guy, you couldn't see the eyes through the visor at the start, but they're on a separate layer. So you go into the layer, make the visor slightly more transparent, and you see his eyes. And the bubbles behind him as well, you make them slightly more transparent so they look a bit more real. And then obviously changing colours of things, and hiding and unhiding layers and that sort of thing. And then the last tutorial was actually decorating a shoe. So another shoe thing, but a bit more in-depth and a bit more realistic this time. So you had to kind of add and tweak laces on there, and then the base of the shoe, so the midsole, I think they called it, was a bit skew-iff, and you had to edit it and make it fit using the tools that you'd learnt. So I think, yeah, all in all, the tutorial is really good. It goes from really basic, but it takes you through at a decent pace, like you don't get too bored, but it's also, it doesn't move too quickly, I don't think. Maybe if you hadn't done any sort of digital work before, it might be a little bit quick, but again, you can pause and rewind and you know, re-watch the videos, and you can do the tutorial as many times as you like, I think. So yeah, all in all, it was good. It was really useful to have done the tutorial before I just went straight in. With OpenBrush, I just went straight into it and just started to play. But yeah, it was really good to have done the tutorial, and I like how it was set up in these like stages and steps, and you followed like a room rather than it just being in this big space. So it kind of kept you enclosed in this space and wasn't too overwhelming, and kept you focused on the one task that you were doing, and you had that video always behind you reminding you of how to do everything. So yeah, I think the tutorial was really good. So then it was time for me to go it alone without the tutorials and have a little play around with what I could achieve on this software. So I started off really simple. I thought, right, I'll take some really simple shapes and try and build up some kind of a model or some kind of recognisable thing with these shapes. So I found recently, whenever I need to make something simple, or I'm just having a little sketch or a little doodle around, I normally end up drawing a plant or making a plant. So I went ahead and made this kind of tree shape with a little globe like world underneath it. I didn't really have a plan, I was just playing around, seeing what happened. I added colour, and then I started playing around with the ribbon tool, which made this like wavy, watery kind of shape that I attached to the side. You can see there I kind of did a little bit of a scribbly grass effect with the tool that lets you create lines that attach to other objects that you've already made. So I ended up with this weird little miniature world that had like some little fishes and some berries on the tree. Yeah, this is the equivalent of me doodling in a sketchbook, really. So I carried on with this almost like scribbling effect. It felt a little bit like I was making something out of wire. It was quite fun building up textures, and I thought this is quite good for creating like the leafy texture, and then the tree bark I did in more of a kind of spiky, straight kind of texture, so it gave it like a barky effect. So then I decided to remove all the spheres and the kind of blocky shapes that I'd used originally. I think when I started off I was trying to make something really simple out of like these simple shapes, but they turned out to be more like a framework in the end that I could then make on top of. And I think I'll probably try working this way again if I do end up, you know, getting a headset and doing more work like this. I think it was quite a good way to work, or a way that I found enjoyable, was to kind of build something out of these simple shapes and then create this wire frame on top. The only problem with this though is that once I'd got quite a lot of texture on there, it started to slow the headset down a little bit, so I'm not sure practically like how realistic that would be to actually build things like this on any sort of scale in this software. So the next project I had to go at was to make a mask, and you'll see later on why I wanted to do that in particular. But Gravity Sketch has some formers that you can work with, so there's bodies, and I think there's cars and different shapes that are already in the software that you can load up and start working with. So I chose this face, and I started to use the pen again that attaches itself to things that are already in the project, and used it to create the contours of the face so that I could make this mask that would fit the contours of a real face. and also used the mirror tool, so every line that I drew would mirror itself onto the face as well, which was really handy. So I started drawing vines, covering the face to give it this kind of, I don't know, like a nature goddess or a green woman kind of effect. And then I went back in and used the edit tool, and you can see me doing this here, slightly tweaking the shapes of things, but also making the vines thicker and thinner to make them look a bit more realistic and give them more of a kind of natural look rather than a computer made look. And then I was able to go in and delete the former of the head, and we were left with the lovely vine mask that we can now try on. So here we go, the finished result. So if you would like to see how I created this mask, then leave a comment down below and I will make a video about how I make things in augmented reality. On the screen right now you'll see a QR code. If you scan that QR code, you'll be able to have a go at wearing the mask yourself too. So if you've enjoyed what you've watched and you would like to see more of this sort of thing, please subscribe to my channel and please like my video. If you feel like it, pop a little comment down below too. You don't have to say much, you can even just pop a little emoji picture down there for me. And hopefully I will see you in my next video.